Look his face.
Yeah.
He's dangerous.
He's special.
You can like.
The guy is special. Everything that could possibly be special about this guy is special. A guy like this is the type of guy that you love to watch and follow, the most special guy that I've ever come across.
Hello and welcome to the Patrick McCorry Sports Show. Today we have former UFC fighter and co-host of Looking for a Fight alongside Dana White and Matt Serra, Dean Thomas. How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very good. Okay, so let's go to the beginning of your career. What made you get into MMA?
Truthfully, man, I was a small kid growing up and I didn't want to get beat up. So at the time, it wasn't even called MMA. The reality was like there was no like career opportunities or it wasn't even a sport. It was just a self-defense. It was self-defense. So I didn't want to get my ass kicked in the street. So I said, I got to learn how to fight. And then that's what got me to where I am today.
And you're a black belt in jiu-jitsu, correct?
Yeah, I'm a black belt in jiu-jitsu.
So how long into your self-defense journey did you start doing jiu-jitsu?
Well, I mean, it was kind of all at the same time. So like, even in the beginning, it was me like kind of being self-taught. And I kind of started with jiu-jitsu because like that's what Hoist Gracie did, and that's was sort of the motivation. He was sort of the idol, the mentor. So I started doing jiu-jitsu seminars and just started with jiu-jitsu with my buddies, and then it became a little bit more traditional as time went on to where I had like a real instructor and so on and so forth. But in the beginning, it was just me and my homeboys at the crib in the yard playing and choking each other, trying to figure out how this stuff works.
So now in your career, you fought in 3 different weight classes, and what I wanted to know, what was your normal weight outside of fighting and outside of training camp?
I was about 165 pounds. So I was what a typical 145 pound fighter weighs about now, most of them. But when I started, there was no prominent 145 pound division. There was no real featherweight division. It was lightweight. So everybody fought at lightweight at that time. Then I did 170 to be on the Ultimate Fighter. And then when that was over, I went back to 155. And then when the 145 pound division started to really come up, I said I can make 145 pounds, and I finished my career off at 145.
And when you cut, did you cut throughout camp, or did you just do the routine water cut on fight week?
No, I pretty much cut throughout camp. I mean, we didn't even know a lot about weight cutting then. So, nowadays it's like water cut, and there's dietitians and nutritionists doing it for these guys. Back then it was, it was hard work. It was, cut as much as you can during camp, eat right, sweat, go in the sauna, and then during the week of, then you really hit it hard, and so I mean, it wasn't even really like, water loading and all that stuff. It was just hard work. But I think because we had it that way, the fighters of my generation were mentally tougher than they are today, because today there's a lot of luxuries and shortcuts. And I mean, obviously it works, it's scientific, but back then we just gutted it out. It was like plastic bags, sit in the car, turn the heat on, and just, I mean, they really, unorthodox methods, but it worked for us.
And you mentioned going on the Ultimate Fighter. How was that experience for you as a fighter, and what did you learn from that experience?
Oh, that was probably one of my greatest, it was for sure the greatest career experience that I've had, and one of the greatest life experiences that I've had. That 6 weeks was incredible. I mean, at times it sucked. It wasn't great in terms of fun and recreation, but in terms of career and information and education, it was great because, you got a chance to learn about yourself. When you seclude yourself from the world and only be concerned with fighting and developing as a fighter, you change and you learn about yourself. You find out who you are, you find out what you're made of, and then you find out what your limits are. And when you're in that house for 6 weeks under those circumstances, you find that out and you can't run from it. And the beauty of it for you guys as the audience, as you guys get to see it happen. I mean,
What was
it's
it?
obviously edited. It's edited in a way that they get to show you, but you do get to see it how it happens.
And what was it like being in the house alongside Matt Serra and other great fighters like George St. Pierre?
I mean, it was awesome. You know, you get to train with these guys every day. You get to learn from them, and so I mean, prior to that experience, everybody was like a part of their own team and own system. So like everybody had their own ideas, but this was the first time that you really got to see how other people from different systems got to work. And then you learned a lot. And you said, oh man, what they're doing is better than what I do. I'm going to take from them. And then you give them something. So then that's when I really learned that, the whole idea of having a team isn't maybe not the best idea because there's so much information in the world. And when you just isolate yourself to one team and one style, one system of learning, you're really doing yourself a disservice. But going in the house showed me that because I got to see how a lot of different people operate.
So you got to train and work with Matt Serra, and he went on to win the show and beat George St. Pierre in a shocker fight. What was that like when you watched that fight? Were you expecting
that was
kind of result?
amazing. I mean, because Matt was a big underdog and no one expected him to win.
Yeah.
And people were even at the time critical of the idea that a reality show guy get a title shot. There's so many fighters already there, and they're like, you're having this reality show with guys coming back, and you're going to give them a title shot. So I mean, it was almost kind of a fluke.
Yeah.
To even get the opportunity. People didn't even believe in the opportunity. So when Matt won, I was so happy and I was so excited for him. And he proved a lot of people wrong that he shouldn't have deserved it. So I was glad he got it.
And where were you when the fight happened? Were you in the arena or were you at home on the couch?
I was actually at a Duffy's. I was at a Duffy's sports bar watching it. And just like, there goes my boy. And when he did it, I was the only one in there that was excited. I was so happy.
Where was the Duffy's? Was it up near Canada, where a lot of George?
No, it was in South Florida.
South Florida. So
Yeah.
obviously now you coached at South Florida American Top Team. What was it like coaching there alongside Tyron Woodley, Amanda Nunes?
Well, that's the thing is like, well, Tyron never really trained there. He had his own place in St. Louis, so. When I trained with him, I'd go to St. Louis or we would travel and we would do a lot of like privatized independent work. But training at American Top Team, I mean, it was always interesting because there were so many different personalities and bodies, so many people coming from different parts of the world, from Brazilians to Russians and Argentinians and Mexicans. And there's always like just new people coming in. And it's like, almost like Grand Central Station. So it's always interesting stuff going on. It's very kind of entertaining, to say the least. But I mean, being able to get to work with, those type of people on a daily basis was definitely a good experience, a good positive experience. And you get to learn. You learn a lot about people when you get to see them up close and personal that way.
What was it like being in the corner of champions, especially dominant ones? Tyron Woodley in his prime was dominant. Amanda Nunes is still dominant to this day.
The thing is, they're dominant, but at any given moment, like you saw with Tyron, any given moment, it could just turn. So you never get comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
It was for me. I never got comfortable. Like it's always the same. It feels the same going in, whether they're dominant or they're the underdog, because any given moment, it could be your last day. And that happened with Tyron, and it was like, dang, and we never got it back. So, but it's always, every fight is a new fight. Every fight feels different, and you never really get comfortable with it.
And obviously, you left American Top Team about a year ago now, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Around a year ago now?
Yeah, it was about a year and a half ago.
And I've seen some interviews, but I want to know now, how has life been outside of American Top Team? It's been over a year now since the decision.
I mean, it's been great. Like I've been blessed. I've been able to focus more on myself and my career, and I think that was kind of one of the things that I wanted to do because, and not to say that I don't like coaching. I do like coaching, but sometimes when you put so much energy into other people that you start to lose yourself. And as a coach, your only concern is this guy, this girl, his fight, her fight, and I'm training them and putting so much energy into them. So now I'm relying on them to win in order for me to win. And when they lose, I lose. When they win, then I can win. And that didn't fully sit well with me, because now I'm not really getting an opportunity to be accountable for my own work. So when I left, I really, decreased the amount of people that I've trained. I trained just a couple of people now, and I put a lot of energy back into me. So instead of training them, I'm training myself to do all the jobs that I'm doing, and the work is paying off. And now I can be accountable for my success, and I feel I'm getting there.
And so now, and you have done the show for a long time, but Looking for a Fight, a great show, and you get to travel the world. What is that like?
Oh, that's the most fun that you'll ever have. It's the best job that I have. It's dangerous at times. It's always more dangerous after the fact when we look back and go, I can't believe we did that. But during the time, they're like, come on, man, just do it, man. Think of the ratings we're going to get. But it's a lot of fun, man. Like to hang out with Dana and just hang out like his homeboy, just be his friend and spend all his money and do weird stunts. It's a good time. But like I said, when I look back, I'm like, damn, I can't believe they talked me into doing that. But in terms of like a bucket list of living, like I have none. Like I've far exceeded anything I ever thought I would be able to do in life. So, if I were to die tomorrow, I'd be like, all right, man, peace out. I did everything. So like everything now is just cherry on top.
And is there any pressure on the show with Dana, with your friendship?
No, it's not, because like you just, at the end of the day, Dana's a human being, like and that's a great question. I've never gotten that, but Dana's a human being and he's a regular dude. So if you're just not a jerk, everything's fine. Like if you're just a good person, everything's fine. And like that's the one thing that Dana is. He's a good person and he tries to help everybody. He tries to do what's going to be the best for everybody. And he may get a bad rap sometimes because in order to do that, some people have to suffer. In order, you know what I'm saying? So like in order you want to make an omelet, you got to crack some eggs. Sometimes you're an egg, but you got to just understand that, it may not be beneficial for you at the moment, but it's going to help everybody else. And that's the way Dana operates. So, and I understand that. And I operate that way too in life. So for me, I'm willing to take one for the team if I have to, if it's going to help everybody else out. And I'm also willing to, do what I have to do in order to make things work. So in terms of being a friend, I'm just a cool dude. He's a cool dude. So we just hang out.
And when you're watching the fights and, both the guys in the main event or some of the fights, you have an eye on and one of them loses, do you feel like a sense of sadness for the one guy who loses?
Yeah, for sure. And that's happened many times where, there be guys that they're looking at Dana's there looking at, and like, this is their moment, and they're trying to impress, and then something happens, and they get knocked out, or they get submitted, or they just have a bad performance, and that moment came for them, and you just see them, they just shut down, because I know how that feels. I know how that feels to be wanting something so bad and to be working for something for so long and so hard, and the moment comes, the opportunity comes, and you lose it, because sometimes you get one chance to shine. And when you get that opportunity, you got to be really prepared and really focused and really try to take advantage of it. And when guys miss it, it really does, it stings. And sometimes they bounce back, and then sometimes they don't. But it really does. It's really disheartening to watch it unfold.
Yeah. For example, I was watching the Hawaii episode just before this interview, and it was a very close fight. And the guy who lost, I was looking at his stats.
Trey,
I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I think his name was Trey. I just saw him a few weeks ago, actually, or last week in Sanford, at Sanford MMA. Yeah. You're right. Like he's a guy who was very talented. He had a great record. I mean, Dana was looking at him. He was looking at both guys. The other guy won. It was a close fight, but to see his face, just like, I mean, it's disheartening. Like I said, I know how that feels. I mean, it feels like and that's the only way that I can relate. Like, save your money for three. Well, in this case, even more. Save your money. Your life savings. Try to take it to the bank and then getting robbed.
Mhm.
You're just like, I got to start over now. Like, you feel like you have to start over. Like, but the good news is he doesn't have to start over. He's on the radar, so he'll get another chance. He
Yeah, well,
will. And I just, like I said, I just saw him recently. He'll get another chance.
he did recently. I think it was recently. The next fight after that, and he hasn't fought since. He did lose by a rear naked choke in the first round, and I was quite sad to see that. I was hoping maybe there was a good story. He got in the UFC as well later on. But and the other guy too, who was on that episode, he got to the UFC. He actually lost to against Nasrat, and I can't remember the other name he lost to.
Yeah. So sometimes it works out for him, sometimes it doesn't. But understand that under those circumstances, for the show, it's an opportunity for them to try to grow. But and that's the unfortunate thing about the show. Like, it does a lot for some guys, but then some guys, they can have the performance that they wanted, but they may not be the fighter that we think they are. And that's what happens. Is that we got an eye on them. We think there's one thing, then they show up to that fight, have a great performance, but the reality is maybe they weren't really ready, and that happens a lot too. Which is why you see some guys make it from the show, get to the UFC, and then not perform as well because they truly weren't ready.
And do you think there's an added pressure when they do come into the UFC with their first fight? It's like, oh, that's the guy off the TV show.
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, that's the thing, is that what people don't realize is that when they come in off the show, there is extra pressure because there's extra marketing behind them. So there's extra money behind it. Like if I gave you $1,000 to market your radio show, you feel a little pressure from me.
Yeah.
To have a good show. So I was like, yo, man, what's up with the show, man? Here's $1,000. I put $1,000 to get you out there and told everybody the show was coming on, and you better produce. And and I think they feel that sometimes, and that doesn't help them. It actually makes them perform worse. So like, sometimes I feel bad for them for that. But they got to learn to deal with it. This is the business. That's the business of it. They have to be prepared for that.
If you did give me the $1,000, I would perform, but that's besides the point.
I hear you.
Any funny stories from behind the scenes of working with Dana and Matt Serra on Looking for a Fight?
I mean, everything that we did. I don't know if there's any one. I can't think of any one particular story now. I mean, the whole show is just funny. Like every time we go and Matt's there, like everybody, like Matt has everybody laughing the whole time.
Yeah.
Like the whole time. There's rarely a time where like we're not just laughing because Matt is doing or saying something silly or just being really crazy. But I think that's just, if there's a story to tell, that's just the fact that Matt Serra is on the show. Mm-hmm. Like, he's the funniest guy on the planet. Yeah, and I can't think of another person funnier than him. He's so funny, and he has us all laughing. He really, to me, he really makes the show. I mean, I guess the combination and the chemistry of all of us, but for me, it's like, Matt really is the star of the show. Like, he's so silly. Like, we go, and I know there's times where Dana might not even want to go, and then Matt goes and has us laughing, and Dana's just like having such a good time, but he's like, yeah, I'm so glad I'm here. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to the Dean Thomas outside of fighting, and let's go to you as a person. Okay, so do you have a favorite sport outside of combat sports, and do you have a favorite team in that sport?
It's funny, like MMA people don't really have it. Like right now, I'm at work right now. I work for an ESPN affiliate, as you can see in the back, and I'm on a sports radio show. We talk sports, and I don't even have a team. I don't watch sports. I don't, so it's hard to really answer that question. If I had to answer the question, I'd say basketball is probably my favorite sport. And I'm such an old school guy that if I had a favorite player, it'd be like Allen Iverson or somebody. Mm-hmm. So, I'm not really into sports outside of fighting.
Do you have a favorite meal or food?
All right. So, and it fluctuates. I juggle with this. It depends on the day. I love cheese. I love any type of potato. and I love cheeseburgers. So obviously, my favorite meal would be like a cheeseburger with French fries.
Yeah.
But the combination of, or if you separate any one of those and give it to me, I'm a happy man.
Do you have a favorite movie that you always go back to and watch?
My favorite movie, and this is very cliche, a lot of people will say this, but Good Will Hunting is probably my favorite movie.
Yeah.
I love that movie. And here's a movie no one else in the world will say, but The Libertine. So movie with Johnny Depp. Yeah, not many people have seen it, but it's a movie with Johnny Depp. It was done probably in 2007. So yeah, a couple years old. You were probably just being born.
Yeah, I was 3 years old around 2007. Yeah. So, do you have a favorite TV show, like a sitcom, action, thriller? What kind of thing?
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of sitcoms, I think my favorite TV show is a cross between Sanford and Son, and Martin. And in terms of like dramatic shows, my favorite show, well, the best show I think ever done was Breaking Bad. And then so many good shows. It's very difficult to. Yeah. So I'm just going to stick with Breaking Bad, so I don't insult any of the other shows.
Have you ever had a funny interaction with a fan, maybe at ESPN? You know, a guy comes up to you. Have you had any funny interactions?
Well, just so I had an interaction the other day. Actually, this was, and just like 2 days ago, I was at where I go to. So I train a couple fighters at my house, but we go to different gyms. So we were at a different gym, and I walk into this different gym, and it was in between classes. So as the class was leaving, there were people walking onto the mat. So as I'm walking into the gym, people are walking off the mat. The people that are walking off the mat, they recognize me. And so I'm saying hello to a lot of these people. Hello, 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 hello. One guy is staring at me. And as he's staring at me, he looks at me and he says, "You look familiar." And I said, "Oh, really?" He said, "You look like that guy who hangs out with Dana White." And I said, "Oh, I get that all the time." He goes, "Man, you look just like him." And then I'm looking like, he doesn't get it. And then I go, "I'm him." And he goes, "Yeah, right. Man, but you really do look just like him, though." And he said that, and I was like, "No, I am him." He goes, "Yeah, I know. That's funny. No, but man, you look just like him." And I said, "Okay. All right, that's for sure." And I just let him thinking that I look like the guy that hangs out with Dana White.
If he goes home and watches the show again, he'll be like, "Oh man, it is him."
Yeah. Or when he goes back, I'm sure somebody's gonna tell him, because like other people were watching it happen and no one could believe what was happening. They were like, "Are you serious?"
Was everyone holding back laughing?
Yeah, we couldn't believe it. We were just like, "Oh my God." I've never had that happen. I've been mistaken for a lot of people, from Eve Edwards and Anthony Johnson and Yoel Romero. I've been mistaken for these guys, but I've never been mistaken for myself and it not been believed that it actually was me.
That's a great story. I might have to clip that and post that as a separate clip.
Yeah. Hey, but listen, I gotta run and do my other show.
Okay.
I apologize for cutting it short.
It's awesome.
But man, I appreciate you.
Thank you so much, man. Really appreciate you coming on my show. I've been a fan of Looking for a Fight for a long time.
I appreciate it. And hit me up. Hit me up anytime, man. We'll do this again. Are you in Germany?
Yeah, I am in Germany.
And the next time I come, I'll do the show with you live.
Oh, that would be awesome, man. Just message me when you're planning on coming to Germany and we can work something out for sure.
For sure, man. So listen, you take care, man, and I'll catch up with you.
Thank you so much, man. Really appreciate you coming on.
Peace.
See ya. Yeah, good luck on your show today.
Thanks, man. See you.
Bye.